Welcome to the second video in this series, which will look at how to engage with evidence and literature in the process of planning your research or inquiry project. In this video, we'll be looking at the forms of evidence and professional knowledge that you might want to engage with in order to enhance your understanding of the focus that you've chosen. We'll look at the basics of conducting a literature review, how to look for, find and use literature and evidence from the research to enrich and inform your approach. We'll look at how to ensure that you organise your reading in such a way that it'll help you to maintain a coherent picture of what you found. And finally, we'll look at what's involved in summarising and synthesising what you found, extracting the most relevant findings and insights from the literature and fitting it all together into a cohesive whole. So I'd like to start with the basic premise that useful professional knowledge and insight that is relevant to your professional concern can take many forms. It's not just about reviewing the academic literature, although you'll need to do plenty of that too. Action research or teacher inquiry cycles will often involve gathering and considering local evidence. This can give you a sense of the immediate contextual influences that impact on your area of research and can be useful in shaping your understanding of the issue at hand. This can involve a range of preparatory evidence gathering, such as discussions with colleagues, looking at policies, procedures, guidance material, curricula, schemes of work, existing local data, all of which can tell us a great deal about the context in which we're conducting our research. A formal literature review is a fundamental part of most research processes, but the term literature review means something different in the humanities and disciplines like literary studies to what it means in the social sciences. For the purposes of this video, and educational research generally, a literature review is normally understood as a systematic and wide-ranging survey of available literature and evidence, looking at a wide variety of sources on your subject of study. You can see the key phases in a typical literature review set out below, and I'll go through each in turn in a moment. But to answer the question as to why we conduct literature reviews, well, they ensure that we have a well-developed sense of what has already been researched and is already known in your chosen field. We can assess the strengths and the limitations of existing insights and work out if there are any gaps in the evidence base that we can help to fill. Fundamentally, we're looking to enrich our understanding and from there more clearly define the focus and remit of our own research. A literature review will tell us if we're looking in the right area. It can give us ideas on what has already been found to be effective in practice, and it can shape our approach to a proposed intervention. Finding literature is a key challenge and normally done by researchers using keywords to guide their searches. Whilst you'll need a clear idea of what these keywords are, it's also a good idea to build some flexibility in by using synonyms for some words to maximise the number of hits you receive when searching. Using structured searches can help you to maximise results or filter out irrelevant material. It's worth noting that all EWC registrants have free access to EBSCO Education Source Package and the eBook Education, a large educational research database which has a range of searching options. The other key point is to set clear criteria for inclusion and exclusion of source material. Some sources are more reliable than others, and by using higher quality sources such as peer-reviewed academic literature, research by recognised authorities, work by government bodies or recognised research institutes, then you can be more certain and confident about the information and evidence that you're looking at. It's also important to use your time efficiently. Most journal articles will have abstracts, and policy reports and evaluations usually have executive summaries. Use these strategically to determine the relevance of what you're reading. If an abstract or an executive summary suggests something is irrelevant to your subject, you may not need to continue reading it in its entirety. Also, take a critical stance towards the material that you read. Approach material with caution and think carefully about the extent to which your sources are dependable, independent and uncompromised by bias, the extent to which they're relevant to your focus and recent enough to be relevant. And think about how confident you are in the methodology and the methods used and the evidence that they have produced. By asking these questions, you can be more certain that you're accessing the most relevant, reliable and high quality evidence. It's an inevitability of research that at some point you will need to stop reading and start writing. But before you begin, it can be useful to impose some order on the material that you've consulted. Many researchers will produce short summaries of the work that they've read in note form and then begin grouping studies together around a particular theme, or group together those which have similar findings or engage in similar debates. This can often be the first step to deciding on headings, subheadings, and as you progress can help you set out the thematic and discursive structure of your literature review. Researchers conducting literature reviews are often urged to synthesize their review. Essentially, this means outlining the issues, debates, and findings you've encountered by integrating material from across a range of sources which may share a particular focus. A typical paragraph in a literature review should therefore summarize debates across a number of sources and not just deal with one source separately at a time or in isolation. A good literature review will outline where sources agree and converge, as well as where they may diverge and engage in debate. In your reading, try to pay close attention to how literature reviews are organised, written, structured, and also the type of discursive style and register authors use in their writing. Normally, at the end of a literature review, the researcher, equipped with the new knowledge and insight that they've gained, will pose research questions. Research questions are not the questions that you will ask your research participants. They're the questions that you want to answer by conducting your research project. They are effectively your study objectives, the lines of inquiry that will guide your data collection, your analysis, and the conclusions you draw from the work. Research questions are fundamental to ensuring that your study is coherent, cohesive, and maintains a clear and consistent focus throughout. Try to pose research questions that are grounded clearly in the evidence that you've reviewed. This ensures that there is alignment built into every phase of your project. Your research questions should be organised around a consistent and coherent theme. You may want to investigate different aspects of the same subject, and that's perfectly acceptable, but do ensure that the research questions you pose relate to a common theme and to one another. They should also be achievable, practical, and answerable. Try to pose questions that you can answer with the data that you are likely to gather. So here's a summary of the key points that we've covered here. Useful insight in professional research and inquiry can take many forms. A review of literature and evidence is essential to gain an overview on what is known and what can help shape your research focus. Develop a strategic and systematic approach to searching and screening, and take a critical stance towards the material that you read, thinking carefully about how dependable, relevant, and robust the source is. And finally, organise your material and your writing, imposing order on the work as you progress. These are the sources referred to in this presentation. And here's some further reading on this subject. These are some really useful sources which can help you gain further insight into how to conduct a literature review.